If your shoes were, like, throwing off your spinal alignment
Right.
and causing deep tissue back pain or restricting your movement, you'd take them off immediately.
Oh, totally. You'd probably just throw them away.
Exactly. You wouldn't think twice. Yet right now, statistically speaking, there is an 80% chance that the foundational garment you're wearing under your shirt is quietly acting as, well, a self-inflicted structural collapse.
80%. That is just a massive number.
It really is. Welcome to today's deep dive. Today we are extracting the core insights from a really comprehensive 2026 sizing and engineering data set, and this was published by Apparelizer.
Yeah, and our mission here is to completely decode the hidden material science, the biomechanics, and really the structural engineering behind finding your true fit.
Because we spend, so much time obsessing over the drape of a jacket or the hem of our jeans.
Oh, definitely.
But we completely ignore the load-bearing architecture underneath.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's unpack this because you're dealing with a garment that is essentially an engineering marvel. It's basically a wearable suspension bridge.
Right, but we treat it like a generic cotton t-shirt.
Yes, we just throw it on.
And what's fascinating here is that when you look at the aggregate data on daily physical discomfort, a massive percentage of the population is walking around treating severe upper body pain as a given.
Like it's just a normal Tuesday.
Exactly. It's viewed as an inevitable consequence of gravity or aging rather than what it actually is,
Yeah.
which is a highly solvable physics equation.
A physics equation. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you have normalized a literal structural failure against your own body.
And before we get into the actual mechanics of hoop stress and volume calculation, which we will,
Oh, you definitely will.
we have to look at the physiological toll of that structural failure first. Because the data set outlines the symptoms of a poorly fitted foundational garment, and honestly, it reads like a physical therapy intake form.
It really does. It's rough.
You're looking at chronic shoulder pain, deep thoracic back discomfort, skin abrasion,
Yeah.
and cascading posture problems.
Yeah.
It feels wild that society just accepts this as normal for lingerie.
It does. But, if you look at the biomechanics of why that happens, the cascade of pain makes perfect sense. Lingerie, specifically a supportive underwire garment, isn't just fabric draped over your anatomy.
Right, it's doing work.
Exactly. It is a highly calibrated load distribution system. When that system fails because the size and geometry is incorrect, the weight of the breast tissue doesn't just disappear.
Right, gravity still exists.
Gravity always wins, the weight gets displaced, so your musculoskeletal system has to immediately overcompensate.
So your body is fighting the garment.
Literally. Your trapezius muscles basically attempt to act as the primary suspension straps. Your shoulders hunch forward to carry the anterior load.
Which causes that awful slouch.
Yeah, and your upper back muscles strain against that constant forward pull. That leads directly to the nerve compression and deep tissue pain mentioned in the data. But on the flip side, a mathematically correct fit functions as an external ligament. It absorbs the kinetic energy of your movement, actively improves your spinal alignment, and ironically, drastically increases the lifespan of the garment itself.
Wait, really? How does it help the garment?
Because the synthetic fibers aren't being stretched beyond their tensile limits. They're working exactly how they were engineered to work.
Okay, I have a really hard time accepting that traditional explanation, though.
Right.
I want to push back on this idea of the band being the sole anchor.
Okay, let's hear.
From a pure physics perspective, gravity is pulling down vertically.
Right.
So the vertical straps must be taking the majority of the load, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if your straps are digging into your shoulders and leaving those deep red indentations, my natural instinct is to just loosen the straps to relieve the pressure.
Sure, that's what everyone does.
Right. So how does horizontal band tension counteract vertical gravity?
Okay, that is the exact instinct that leads to the structural collapse you mentioned earlier.
Really?
Yeah.
Loosening the straps.
Yes. Loosening the straps is just treating a symptom while completely ignoring the architectural disease. To answer your physics question, think of the garment like a cantilever system extending from a wall.
Okay, cantilever.
The band around your rib cage is the structural wall. It utilizes surface area friction and horizontal tension, what engineers call hoop stress, to lock the garment onto your skeletal frame.
Oh, so the band is doing all the heavy lifting.
Almost all of it. The straps are merely there to keep the fabric flush against your skin, not to bear weight.
Not to bear weight.
Yeah.
That completely changes how I look at this.
Right. If your straps are digging in, it means your horizontal tension has failed. The band is too loose, and the vertical straps are suddenly forced to take on 100% of the kinetic load.
Which these simply are not designed to do.
Exactly.
Which means those red indentations on your shoulders aren't just annoying marks. They are literal evidence of tissue compression restricting blood flow.
Yep.
Because a tiny, like half-inch piece of elastic is trying to do the job of a broad, load-bearing anchor.
It's a structural nightmare.
So if the band is the foundation, how do we actually calculate the tension correctly? Because the standard sizing math we've all been taught,
Right.
Measure the band, measure the bust, subtract the difference to find the cup letter.
The classic subtraction method.
Right. It just seems incredibly rudimentary for what is essentially a 3D volume problem.
You are entirely correct to question that formula. If we connect this to the bigger picture, understanding the simple subtraction is the key. But the traditional method is just a two-dimensional proxy for a complex three-dimensional reality.
Because bodies aren't 2D.
Exactly. It assumes breast tissue forms a perfect hemisphere, which is honestly almost never anatomically true.
Right.
The Apparelizer data highlights that finding your true fit requires understanding cup volume as a nonlinear cubic measurement. And that has to be coupled with your specific breast root width.
Breast root width, meaning like how broad the base of the tissue is against your chest wall.
You got it. This is exactly why you can calculate a perfect 2-inch mathematical difference and still find that a B cup gaps terribly at the top.
Or pinches at the sides.
Exactly.
So the letter on the tag isn't a static size at all. It's entirely relative to the band.
100% relative.
And this brings up the concept of sister sizing, which I think is where the real math breakthrough happens for most people.
Oh, absolutely. Sister sizing is a game changer.
Like if you take a 34C and you realize the band is too tight but the cup volume is perfect, you can't just go up to a 36C, right?
Right. If you move from a 34C to a 36C, you aren't just increasing the band circumference. The grading algorithms used by apparel manufacturers automatically increase the cubic volume of the cup as well.
So the cup gets bigger just because the band got bigger.
Exactly. To maintain the exact same cup volume but get a wider band, you have to shift your geometry diagonally.
So you'd move to a 36B.
Bingo.
Cool.
The volume of a 36B is identical to a 34C, but it's distributed across a broader base foundation.
That is wild.
It is. Understanding that proportional relationship, that a 32DD holds the exact same mass as a 38B, completely removes the guesswork. And frankly, it removes the weird stigma attached to specific letters.
Yeah, you're just navigating the sizing matrix using pure data.
Pure data, no emotions attached to a letter.
Okay, so armed with that data and the reality of cubic volume, you really need to audit your current wardrobe.
Yes, go check your drawers.
Because you might do the math, look in your dresser, and realize the geometry has been failing you for years.
More than likely.
The data set provides a specific diagnostic checklist of red flags. Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about a loose band riding up your back. It acts literally like a seesaw.
A seesaw is the perfect analogy.
If the back band goes up, the front structural wire inevitably drops down.
Precisely. And the moment that seesaw tilts, you have lost 100% of your structural support.
100%.
Yes. You are essentially wearing a piece of elastic that is doing absolutely nothing to counteract gravity.
Just decorative at that point.
Pretty much. Other diagnostic symptoms include cup spillage, which simply means the cubic volume of the cup is insufficient for the mass of the tissue, forcing displacement over the top or sides.
What if the fabric is, like, wrinkling?
Conversely, if you have gaps or wrinkling in the cups, the volume is too large. That means the fabric cannot provide the necessary compression and encapsulation.
Okay, that makes sense.
Finally, you have the center bridge of the garment, known as the gore. That centerpiece must tack perfectly flat against your sternum. If it floats away from your chest, the two cups are failing to isolate the tissue, and the cantilever system is completely compromised.
Okay, that makes the mechanics crystal clear. But I want to talk about a specific timeline this data insists upon.
Ah, the remeasuring rule.
Yes, the 6 to 12 month remeasuring rule. I actually tried to apply that rule, and the friction is that it feels incredibly tedious to recalculate your baseline when you haven't visually noticed a change in your body.
People hate doing it.
It feels like unnecessary homework.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that window so strict?
It feels tedious until you look at the material science of what is happening inside your dresser. We tend to think of our size as a static, lifelong identity.
Like, I am a 34C. Forever.
Right. But bodies are dynamically shifting due to hydration, hormones, and subtle weight fluctuations. But more importantly, there's the chemical breakdown of the garment itself.
The actual fabric is degrading.
Yes. The elastane and polyurethane polyurea copolymers, what we commonly call spandex, they have a finite shelf life.
I don't even think about that.
Even if your body hasn't changed a millimeter, the tension and recovery of those synthetic fibers degrade over a 6 to 12-month period.
Just from wearing it.
From exposure to body heat, ambient oxidation, and the natural lipids in your skin, the garment you bought in January physically cannot provide the same hoop stress in December.
Wow.
Fit is not a set it and forget it variable. You have to continually update your data to maintain the structural integrity.
Which logically bridges us into the next massive variable. Once you have the updated tension math and you know your correct sister size, you still have to choose the right architectural style.
Yes, the blueprints.
Right. Since we've established the band as the primary load-bearing wall and the gore has to tack to the sternum, how does that architecture change when you alter the shape of the garment? Like, why do we actually need so many different styles? Isn't a bra just a bra?
Not at all.
Why complicate it with balconettes and bralettes?
Think about civil engineering. You wouldn't use the exact same structural blueprints for a skyscraper as you would for a sprawling stadium.
Okay, fair point.
Different anatomical geometries require different structural approaches to achieve that perfect equilibrium of support and comfort.
Okay.
The dataset categorizes this by body type. Take a pear-shaped anatomy, for instance, where the mass is distributed lower on the body.
What's the goal there?
The goal is to shift the visual center of gravity upward. A push-up or balconette style is mathematically engineered for this. It utilizes wider set straps and a lower horizontal cut across the cups.
So it pushes things up.
Exactly. It acts like a lifting shelf, a pure cantilever, that pushes the mass upward to create a sense of balance.
Right, but for an athletic or broader geometric frame, the objective shifts entirely, right?
Absolutely.
The data points toward bralettes, lace details, or lightly padded styles for softer curves. So if a balconette acts as a lifting shelf, what is the mechanical purpose of a bralette that strips away the underwire entirely?
When you remove the rigid underwire, you are shifting from a system of encapsulation to a system of compression.
Encapsulation versus compression.
Okay. A bralette relies on the tensile strength of the fabric itself to press the tissue closer to the chest wall. That minimizes movement by reducing the projection of the mass. This works beautifully for athletic frames or smaller volumes where heavy-duty encapsulation just isn't necessary.
It softens the overall silhouette.
Exactly. And then for curvy figures or heavier tissue volumes, it's all about maximizing stability and surface area.
Full coverage.
You need full coverage styles with a highly supportive, wider underwire. By increasing the surface area of the fabric covering the tissue, you are actively reducing the pounds per square inch of pressure exerted on the skin.
Which prevents the garment from digging in.
You got it. And what about petite frames? Usually lightly padded or delicate styles work best there.
And a classic t-shirt style. That's using seamless molded polyurethane foam to distribute pressure evenly and create a perfectly smooth coverage under fitted clothing.
Exactly. Every single style manipulates the silhouette and the load distribution mechanism in distinctly different ways. A bodysuit merges foundational support with outward fashion, utilizing vertical tension from the shoulders down to the torso.
To smooth the entire core.
Right. And a baby doll